Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Marvelous. I'm here to give my opinion today. Today's topic, selfishness.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing at all.
Nothing's wrong with it.
We're going to talk about what it is to be selfish. We're going to talk about how that affects you and other people around you. It's going to talk about how that affects society, I believe, in my opinion. We're going to talk about how it affects relationships as well. Let's get into it. Alright, so what can drive a person or the individual to be selfish? There's a few ways you can get down that road. First one, the most common one in my opinion, is being passionate. Now you're probably asking, what's wrong with being passionate? Like that's a good thing, isn't it? The sentiment of it, depending on how you want to use that word, it could be good. You know, you could be like, I'm passionate about my wife or my job or whatever it is you say. It could be too much an exaggerated term. You're not really using the word in a way, in a literal sense, you know what I'm saying, in a rational sense, because technically being passionate means to have an uncontrollable feeling, an uncontrollable desire. And I believe when you start to get into that mode, in my opinion, that you'll probably end up doing anything to get what you want. And when you can't control yourself, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna probably end up doing something selfish to get what you want. You know what I'm saying? Because you just can't control yourself, and you'll make up excuses. You'll do everything to justify what it is to get what you want.
Whatever, I do what I want.
That's what a person, again, who has no control over the things they want or over the things they don't like. At the end of the day, you can passionately dislike something as well, and you'll justify it because this is how you feel. And again, if 9 times out of 10 it's going to be selfish. I don't care how you justify it, you're going to be selfish getting what you want, to see the results that you want. It's all about you and how you feel. Just that simple. So like I said, that's the one gateway for me. I think an individual can tend to be selfish. Another way that someone can be selfish is just simply being vindictive. You know, hurt people. So or even being petty, you know, just someone did something to you and you want to be spiteful. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to be the bigger person. Or you seen someone do a selfish act and there was no consequences or anything done about it, so you say, you know what, temptation, I'm gonna go for it. It is what it is. Monkey see, monkey do. You know, that's another way that I've seen people act selfishly. It's just the fact that when it comes to society in general, when it comes to society, when people aren't held accountable, people tend to be more selfish and more inclined to do that selfish act that they see, replicate it, and do it over and over. Because no one's being held accountable. So do what you want to do. Do what thy will. And what it's all about, do what thy will, well, being selfish. People want freedom. And in some sense, I want freedom. But I don't want freedom at a certain cost of my society breaking down. There are certain things that, yes, you should be at liberty to in a society, but people have really taken that term freedom and don't realize, like, there is no such thing as a free society.
What?
It's not a real thing. It's not possible to have a free society if you actually look at the word and what freedom actually means. You might as well just be like animals, because animals are free. There is no animal society. That's what free looks like. If you want to know what freedom looks like, look at animals. Okay, that's what we would be if we were actually free to roam and do whatever freak we want. But like I said, we're in a society. We cultivate. We're supposed to have an understanding of each other. We're supposed to be able to understand, relate, and cooperate, and coordinate. You know, be a unit, be a civilization, be a nation. But the things they're promoting right now are contradictory to what is best for society, in my opinion. So there are certain campaigns being pushed right now, certain agendas that I'm starting to see that are actually breaking down our society. It is not due to certain ideals, I would say, because there's nothing wrong with having one way of doing one way, another way to another. But let's talk about that real quick. I'm gonna touch that 1 second. Multiculturalism. It makes no sense for a single nation, one nation, to have many nations within it and then expect them to be kumbaya. Like I that's not going to happen in my opinion. It's just, oil and water don't mix. There are going to be some things that can overlap, but other things are just not going to mix. And that's one particular problem I believe that's happening in Western society. It's like they want the sentiment of not being inclusive, but then also you have boxes and everyone's in their own little box. And it's like, well, if they're on their own and they have their own values and their own principles, how am I to trust and understand them, especially when their laws contradict my way of life? You get what I'm saying? It's like I said, some things are going to overlap, a lot of things are not, man, because everyone's in it for themselves. And that is what I was trying to hit on with the selfish acts. When you have a group of individuals, all right, society is not going to run well. It's not. You're going to have what you see right now in America, a bunch of heads butting, chaos, conversations really being shut down. No one's trying to understand the next. People are easily offended. This is the breakdown society. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that in my opinion, it's not that I don't believe America could work. It has potential to work if done the right way. And when I say the right way, I mean like how it is on black and white. But the thing is, we don't deal in black and white. We humans. All right, there's gonna be a lot of gray matter all over the blueprint, and we have to compensate for it some way. We have to be more strict and more tight and evolve with certain ideas along the way, as we're still trying to be what we call a nation of many nations, really. There has to be an agreement between certain parties. Lines have to be drawn in the sand. Yes, borders have to happen. You got to be able to separate certain parties because they do not mix, but they got to have the understanding of respect in that line in the sand. Some people say that's a bit extreme. I'm like, the idea of multiculturalism is extreme. Have you not realized that? I really don't know. I'm like, I don't think I know how ambitious it was to think that this was going to be a successful plan. I get it. It feels good. Like, oh, everyone's unified. Everyone. And you know what that is? It's the image. You see different things, right? But you're not seeing, like, you see how they look all different and it looks all beautiful. They hold hands. But the thing that you're not taking account for is what they think. How they living, what are their beliefs, what are their values? Because at the end of the day, that's what should matter. But I understand some people have a more shallow perspective on things, you know, because some people just like how things look. They don't necessarily have to know. Now, we talked this before about communication. Go watch my last video. I talked about this. Well, people have an emotional perspective or those who have a rational perspective. The rational thinker is thinking, yo, I need to be with more like-minded individuals. A person who is more emotional is going to probably look at this and say, I need people who look a certain way to fit my narrative. You know what I'm saying? And you can have both. You can have the looks and the thought. You know what I'm saying? But the people who look at it in such an extreme way with multiculturalism, in my opinion, who really believe like we can all be kumbaya or at least be respectable towards one another, tell the world that. Tell China that. Tell Ukraine that. Tell Russia that. No, we all have our own agendas, our own things that we want as a group, as people. That's just who we are. We're all unique and different people. And trying to basically almost ignore that, because again, you have the rose-colored eyes and stuff, and you see peace amongst everyone in some way. Like, there's no absolute. That's the truth. There's only the only absolute, two, in my opinion, two of them. The only two absolutes are numbers and change. Those are guaranteed to happen. Change is guaranteed to happen, and numbers are absolute. There's nothing more to it. Everything else, you're going to have to adjust to that. And actually, with change, that deals with more of the emotional aspect. The person who has an emotional perspective deals with change quite well. The person who is a rational thinker deals with numbers very well. But it's not to say that you can't combine them both. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just letting you know when I'm picking up, when I'm vibing with our society, and I know for a fact the biggest breakdown, because it applies what happens in a small unit happens in a bigger unit, just on a bigger scale. So if what's breaking up households is selfish acts, right, and the love is not there because no one's willing to communicate and understand one another, that same that same method can be applied on a society at whole. You make people more selfish, and you give them more confusion, give them less understanding, you have less faith, less knowing, and that's what society is going to be. You know what I'm saying? It's no longer a society because we're not really cooperating with one another. You know what I'm saying? There are certain tribes or groups of people who do cooperate for their own selfish needs, and they will get there by any means necessary. It's like having little tribal wars within our own nation. This is why I say we're a nation of many nations. I don't know who thought this was going to be a great idea, but no, this is not working. I get envious. Right now, I'm currently in Japan. I get envious of other countries because they have establishment. They have a way of doing things, and everyone's on the same page. And yes, they have little subcultures, but the subcultures don't dictate nothing here. It's literally a majority rules. And in our country, we're kind of like the opposite. Especially now, it's definitely like the 2% that run the nation, like those who have a certain way of thinking, a certain way of being, because we had this idea that there were people who weren't being heard. And yes, that was a thing. There was a class system in America where they looked at people of color and separated them, Jim Crow laws, and treated them a certain way. And it still be treated this way to this day. There are still people who are going to treat black people based on their image for the most part, because again, there's a lot of narrow-minded individuals. And not just blacks, everyone gets treated a certain way based on the imagery. Again, that ties in with the emotional aspect of things. When you start to look at that emotional perspective, yes, it is what it is. It's nothing rational about it, of course. There's no rationality towards thinking of an image, and when you see something, that's what it means. Like, oh, you're black, so that means X, Y, and Z, given into preconceived notions and stereotypes. And it's not to say that some of these notions and stereotypes don't indulge in some truth, but to take it in such an absolute form, that's where you're going to fall short. But again, I'm never trying to go to that topic. Again, selfishness. That's what we're talking about, being selfish. So now that we talked about how an individual can be selfish, we talked about how selfish things can affect you, how selfish things can affect society as a whole. What can we do to prepare it? What can we do to fix ourselves first? Because we got to start with ourselves first. Start with every individual first. What you need to do, in my opinion, again, learn to love yourself. All right. I got 3 principles that I live by, and this is my interpretation of what love is. Love to me is a mindset. You guys see in the opening credits. If you haven't seen or caught on to it, I'll say it again. Truth, faith, and understanding. Those are the 3 things I live by. I do that for me, and I do that for others. All right. I'm not trying to do the opposite. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm not trying to have any type of disbelief. I don't want to lie to you. I'm not trying to destroy you. All right. And if you want to have that certain mindset that I'm talking about, you got to be patient. That's where that discipline comes into play. That's where you have control over you. You start to dictate and move things according to your own will, because you are in control of you. It's not someone controlling you on the outside. See, that's another thing. A lot of us are actually so concerned about what the world's doing and what's going on and all distractions that's going on with it, but you don't really give yourself that, attention that you need so you can figure out why you are in your current position. Why are you here in this situation? Because at the end of the day, life is a decision making process. All right, you have to understand why you make decisions that you did. What got you here? What motivates you? What pushes you? What's controlling you? Maybe you gotta go and examine yourself and ask yourself those questions. So start yourself first. Learn to love yourself and be true to yourself. Do not lie to yourself, because all you're gonna end up doing is destroying yourself. Lies, I don't care how small or big, has one purpose: destruction. Period. Flat out. I'm not even joking with that. Lies have only one purpose: destruction. That's it. That's all you're gonna ever get from a lie. All right. And now you can try to say, oh, what about secrets and stuff like that? Look, man, I'm not talking about secrets. Withheld information is different than telling a lie. All right. I don't have, you can have this power to use your tongue or do not use your tongue. Okay. But be careful with how you use your tongue. That's just it. But again, getting off topic a little bit. Sorry, ranting. True faith, understanding. Okay. Even your enemies, you should learn to understand your enemies so you can learn to respect your enemy, because you don't know. If you don't know, you're going to end up getting caught with your pants down. Now, if you do know, at least you know what to expect and know what he's capable of and what you're capable of. Okay? It's just that simple. You know what I'm saying? And then faith. Everyone has to have some level of faith. Otherwise, nothing would exist. So, usually when I use the word faith, a lot of people get into the whole religious thing, and I'm just like, I'm not even talking about a deity or a god or any type of religious practice here. Faith is the simple system of just believing in something. You believe in science, right? I'm sure people who are rational minded believe in some type of science. That's a belief system. Okay, facts are things that you have to believe in order for it to be true. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's usually just a consensus of people believing in one particular thing, and they call it a fact. It's only true until it's proven otherwise, but it'll remain true until, again, proven otherwise. So there's a few things in history that have been true for a long time, and then it was proven otherwise, because again, it's about what you believe. All right, and things don't exist, in my opinion, unless you believe in it. That's just it. You got to have some type of a form of belief, otherwise things just wouldn't exist the way they are. That's just my opinion. It's my opinion. All right. So we talked about loving yourself. What's the next thing? Be a little selfish. Be a little less selfish. So what is that going to be? Discipline. You got to learn to have some self-control. Be patient. Now, I know it's easier said than done, but that's when you understand who you are, you're able to check yourself in certain times when you're weak. You're able to say, nah, we're not going to do that, because we know how that's going to turn down. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be able to have more stability. You're gonna have better discernment in your decision making when you're able to reflect on yourself in the moment on what it is you're about to pull the trigger on. You know what I'm saying? You're basically self-conscious about what it is you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are 6 ways, and I told you guys in another video. Again, go watch it. Communication part 2. Or was it maybe before that one? I don't know. Watch my videos, you'll see this. I said before. The 6 ways that we move in life: intentional, unintentional, informed, uninformed, instinctive, or impulsive. Alright? When you have clarity, you're going to be well informed, you're going to be intentional, and you're going to have an instinctive to move what it is that you're about to do. Alright? That's just it. You have to, in order to be successful in being who you are, you need to operate in that manner. Otherwise, you just weren't you. You allowed your feelings or whatever it is to control you in that moment, to do what it does to you. You really weren't in control of your life at that moment. We're not perfect. There's moments when we all slip, but that's, again, you got to have that ability to reel yourself back in, and don't just completely lose yourself and forget who you are. And that's all this is about. Learn to love yourself and be a little less selfish. All right? And maybe we can, maybe, I gotta have faith in us too, man. Maybe we can actually do something about the current state of our country, the current state of West society. But that's all I gotta say, guys. Peace and love. Take care. I'm out.